Hello and welcome back to Intelligent Pod, where we dive deep into the science, art, and everyday practice of thinking smarter and living better. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and today we're tackling a topic that touches every corner of our lives, whether we realize it or not: mastering the art of negotiation. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Negotiation? Isn't that just for high-powered executives, lawyers, or maybe people haggling at a flea market? But here's the reality. Negotiation is everywhere. It's woven into the fabric of our daily interactions. Whether you're asking for a raise, deciding where to eat dinner with friends, managing a conflict with your partner, or buying a new car, you're negotiating. And the better you get at it, the more empowered and satisfied you'll feel in all areas of your life. So, if you've ever felt nervous, tongue-tied, or just a bit awkward when it's time to ask for what you want, this episode is for you. We're going to break down the psychology, science, and even the cultural nuances of negotiation. I'll share some fascinating studies, a real-life story or two, and of course, practical tips you can use right away. By the end, you'll have a toolbox of strategies to help you negotiate with confidence, clarity, and fairness. Let's get started. First, let's ground ourselves in what negotiation actually is. At its core, negotiation is simply a process where two or more people with different interests or perspectives try to reach an agreement. It's not just about money or contracts. It's about finding solutions that work for everyone involved. Sometimes that's a compromise. Sometimes it's a creative win-win solution you didn't even know was possible. Here's a quick stat to put it in perspective. According to a study by the Harvard Law School's program on negotiation, the average American engages in at least 3 negotiations per day. That might be as formal as a business deal or as casual as persuading your child to eat their veggies. 3 times a day. Yet most of us have never taken a class or read a book on negotiation. We just wing it. So why do so many people feel anxious about negotiation? Let's talk about the psychology behind it. Negotiation taps into some of our deepest fears and insecurities. There's the fear of rejection. What if they say no? The fear of confrontation. What if things get tense? And for many, especially women and people from marginalized groups, there's the added worry about being perceived as too aggressive or, on the flip side, too passive. A fascinating study from Carnegie Mellon University found that only 7% of women negotiated their starting salaries, compared to 57% of men. That's a huge gap, and over the course of a career, that difference can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the good news. Negotiation is a skill, not a personality trait. You can learn it, practice it, and get better, no matter where you're starting from. Let's zoom out a bit and talk about the science of negotiation. Researchers have identified a few core principles that show up in successful negotiations, regardless of culture or context. First up, preparation is everything. Studies show that people who take the time to plan by researching the facts, understanding the other party's needs, and clarifying their own goals are far more likely to walk away satisfied. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that negotiators who spent just 15 minutes preparing before a meeting achieved outcomes up to 30% better than those who didn't. But preparation isn't just about facts and figures. It's also about mindset. There's a concept called BATNA, Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. In plain English, that means knowing your backup plan. If you walk into a negotiation knowing what you'll do if you can't reach a deal, you'll feel and appear more confident. And that confidence is contagious. Now, let's look at negotiation through a cultural lens. In some cultures, direct confrontation is normal and even expected. In others, harmony and saving face are valued above all else. For example, in many East Asian cultures, indirect communication and subtlety are prized in negotiation. In contrast, Western cultures often favor a more direct, assertive approach. Here's a little anecdote to illustrate. A friend of mine, let's call her Mia, once tried to negotiate a contract with a company based in Japan. She came in with her usual American style, direct, enthusiastic, eager to get to the point. But her Japanese counterpart seemed uncomfortable, and the meeting ended without an agreement. After some reflection and research, Mia realized she needed to slow down, show more deference, and allow more time for building trust. At their next meeting, she brought a small gift, engaged in some friendly small talk, and allowed the conversation to unfold at a more relaxed pace. The difference was night and day. They reached a deal, and Mia gained a deeper appreciation for the cultural nuances of negotiation. So, we've talked about the psychological and scientific foundations and touched on the importance of culture. But what does this all mean for you in your daily life? Let's get practical. Here are some actionable strategies you can start using right away, whether you're negotiating a major business deal or just trying to get your roommate to take out the trash. First, do your homework. Before any negotiation, ask yourself, what do I really want? What does the other person want? Where is there overlap, and where are the sticking points? The more you know, the more options you'll see. Second, practice active listening. This sounds simple, but it's powerful. When you truly listen, not just to the words, but to the underlying needs and emotions, you build trust and find creative solutions. Try reflecting back what you've heard. It sounds like your main concern is X. Did I get that right? This shows empathy and keeps the conversation collaborative, not adversarial. Third, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. This is where so many people get stuck. They worry about seeming greedy or demanding. But remember, negotiation isn't about taking advantage. It's about finding a solution that works for everyone. Be clear, be respectful, and back up your request with reasons. You might say, based on my research and the value I bring to the team, I'd like to discuss a raise. Fourth, embrace silence. After you make your request, pause. Let the other person process. Silence can feel uncomfortable, but it's often where the magic happens. People need time to think, and sometimes a little silence is all it takes for them to come around. And finally, know when to walk away. Not every negotiation will end in agreement, and that's okay. If the terms don't meet your minimum needs, or if you sense the other party isn't acting in good faith, it's okay to politely end the conversation. Remember your BATNA, that backup plan we talked about earlier. Let's recap what we've covered today. Negotiation isn't just for boardrooms or marketplaces. It's an essential life skill, one we practice every day, often without realizing it. By understanding the psychology behind our fears, preparing thoroughly, respecting cultural differences, and using practical strategies like active listening and clear requests, we can negotiate more confidently and effectively. I want to leave you with a final thought. Negotiation isn't about winning or losing. It's about problem solving, relationship building, and finding creative ways to meet everyone's needs. When you approach it with curiosity, empathy, and a willingness to learn, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. If you found today's episode helpful, I'd love for you to leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps Intelligent Pod reach more curious minds like yours. For detailed show notes, resources, and links to some of the studies we discussed, head over to intelligentpod.com. And if you have thoughts, questions, or your own negotiation stories to share, I'm all ears. Shoot me an email at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Remember, negotiation is an art, one you can master, one conversation at a time. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and keep thinking intelligently.